Welcome everybody to Wino Wednesday number 5.
Happy Wino Wednesday.
Happy Wino Wednesday. We are featuring Super Tuscan this week. And RobbyG, how are you?
I'm good.
He's good.
Ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock and roll. I haven't seen Rob for a while. We've been out of town and hanging out, drinking more wine, but not Super Tuscan. So this is going to be fun for me as well today. I'm Gina. If this is your first time joining us, thank you and welcome.
And I'm RobbyG, the professor of cheese.
Yeah. And together we like to drink wine and eat cheese and share this information with you. So here we are. Excellent. So before we get completely started, we'd like to identify the cheeses on your plate because I know it's a little hard sometimes and everybody wants to start nibbling and eating while we're just blah, blah, blahing away.
And these ones kind of look similar, so we should definitely...
Yeah, there was no... this one's going to be a tough one, but we will identify them for you. So everyone take a peek at this cheese right here. It is kind of the yellowish one and it's going to be the softest one on the plate. Little golden, very kind of soft in texture. That is your Cacio de Roma. Okay?
It's the youngest cheese. The Cacio de Roma is the youngest cheese, and that's why it's the softest cheese.
The baby on the plate. Yeah. As opposed to its more aged cousin, which is the Pecorino Toscano, and that one's really identifiable mostly by the rind. So take a look at that dark rind on the outside. It's going to be a little harder in texture. That's the Pecorino Toscano. Okay? Then we've got one that the distinct markings on this will be little peppercorns inside.
Yeah.
This is the Pepato on your plate. Okay,
that's
really
the one that's
really
easiest to identify because it's got the peppercorns.
Yeah, peppercorn. Because actually, now the Boschetto, which is the other kind of soft one, but the whitest one on your plate is Boschetto. And the little flecks you may or not see on the cheese are truffles. So smell that one. You're going to know this one, right, Rob?
It's the whitest one on the plate.
Yeah.
There will be little black flecks in it, but if you're out or you don't see any little black flecks in it, smell it. It's going to smell very truffly or garlicky maybe. It's going to have a strong aroma, especially if you've let it sit out for a little bit.
Yes, exactly. So let your nose be the guide on the truffly one.
Yeah. And I think as far as the order, we should do
our studio today. I'm sorry, in downtown San Diego, we have a motorcycle. We have a circling helicopter.
Oh yeah.
So bear with us, guys.
We have the motorcycle. We've got a helicopter. So the ambulance should come by any second now.
Yeah.
But as far as the order, I think the best order will be the Cacio de Roma.
I agree.
And then the Pecorino Toscano.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last two will be the Pepato and then the Boschetto, or vice versa. I'm going to say
play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But probably the Pepato, and then we'll end with the Boschetto. And mostly my reasoning is because it's truffle and it's special, and we save the biggest and the best for last.
Yes, exactly.
It's also Gina's favorite. At least it used to be.
It used to be. You know what my title was?
I think I do know.
You do?
Baroness.
I was the Baroness of Boschetto because it was my favorite. But, and you? Well, I'm not even going to ask. No, we won't go that one. That'll be a whole nother episode of RobbyG's, seriously.
Hey, buddy. We're trying to do a tasting up here.
We might have to reconsider our outdoor studio.
Possibly. But when we start working at Venissimo, everybody, we encourage everyone to pick a cheese name. And so my first cheese name, I should say something for our episode.
But what was your first?
My very first one was Mozzarella di Bufala Soldier. And so I had her print that on my first business card. And I'm going to say it's probably changed once a week since then.
Yeah, you've had 100, but they're all good. We'll do a tasting plate with all the cheeses that have been your cheese names.
Yeah. So you're going to taste like 500 cheeses that day.
That'll be a good one. We'll put that on the schedule. And anyway, for those of you new too, I've got chat going in YouTube. And if you have a YouTube account, you can chat with me and ask questions that way. And I'll try to answer them as we go. And then they're also posted, online and everything. If you don't have a YouTube account, no worries. You can still listen, but just can't chat. Okay? Did we go over the basics?
Yeah.
Okay.
So ask questions and we'll kind of get to it. Gina's got the Super Tuscan that we are tasting today. Did you talk about the winemaker yet?
I did not, but salute to everyone. Salute. Yeah. Right? That is what you say in Italia. Yes, salute everyone.
Salute.
Salute. Salute. Salute. Baracchi is the name of the winery. Yep. And a Super Tuscan, Robin.
Yeah.
You're going to have to describe what makes a Super Tuscan.
So this one is 2018, and it is IGT. That's the designation, and that stands for Indicación Geográfica Típica, which means typical geographic indication. Okay. So it's kind of like in France how they have the AOC. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Italians came up with their own similar system, and the Italian one gets really confusing. Okay. I'll get into a little bit, but I'm not going to get into too much of the semantics about it. But theirs is called DOC, which is roughly the same. It's like the Italian interpretation of AOC. In France, it's Appellation d'origine contrôlée. Mm-hmm. In Italian, it's Denominazione d'origine protetta. So like protected designation of origin.
Okay.
Now, this is not DOC.
But it's IGT.
It's IGT. So this is where it gets confusing. There's also DOCG for Italian wines, and that's an additional designation. And basically, let's see, where do I start? Chianti, the original Chianti, because we have to talk about Chianti if we're
when you talk about Super Tuscans. Okay.
And if we're going to talk about Chianti, we'll back up and just talk about Tuscany. Okay?
Okay.
So Tuscany is the region. The capital and biggest city is Florence. Mm-hmm. Another really well-known city is Siena. Lots of history. Right. They have those horse races that go through the middle of the square there.
Exactly.
And which is like, if you've been there, you're like, how do horses race through this little square with like people sitting out eating and drinking wine? But in fact, the color sienna, burnt sienna, comes from the brick of the buildings.
Of the buildings, isn't it kind of like this?
It's like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's in your crayon box if anyone has crayons. Unless you're
the big box with the pencil sharp.
the big box or your colored pencils. If you see burnt sienna, that's where it comes from.
Burnt sienna.
And there's a few other cities and towns and provinces in the region of Tuscany. Of course, it's the home of the Renaissance. It's also the home of a region called Chianti. Mm-hmm. And Chianti, the region, is a very hilly region. Mm-hmm. They say it is 68% hills. The region of Tuscany, and Chianti is all hills, and Chianti is just south of Florence, in like north of Siena, so it's right smack dab in the middle of the region.
Okay, of the region of Tuscany.
And like the word
region in a region.
It's like it's a region within a region, just like the appellations in wine, right? So what makes their wine sort of special is because it's so hilly, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of microclimates, because it's all about the slope of the hills and where the
facings,
the reflection of the sun and the shadow and this and that. And so the grape that is the most grown, or most commonly grown in the region is Sangiovese.
Sangiovese, which we all know.
We all know Sangiovese. Yeah. It is a very versatile grape. It's also very fruity, like kind of like cherry fruity. It's great for food. Sometimes it gives what we perceive as like a kind of a saltier flavor, which is it's meant as a table wine just to chug it up and eat lots of food with.
That's the beauty of Italian wines. It's not chug it up. I think that's hashtag chug it up.
Chuggable. I think it says it on the bottle. Chuggable.
Chug it up.
So they so the big grape there is Sangiovese. Now, just like the French, just like the Spanish, they oftentimes will give you a region and they assume you know what grapes come from there. So assume that Chiantis are mostly Sangiovese. Okay. There are a few other grapes grown in the region, but it's predominantly Sangio.
And it's confusing though, because you can buy a Chianti wine or you can buy a Sangiovese wine.
Yeah.
But a Chianti could be a Sangiovese grape.
Yeah, well, you can grow Sangiovese in California.
Yeah,
and it'll be a Sangiovese.
Exactly. Sure.
And but so the formula, or sort of like, I guess the rule for Chiantis, that was defined by the first time it got a DOC, Denominazione d'origine controllata, 1967, was that it had to be predominantly Sangiovese. Yeah. The next red wine that went into it, I have to look it up, was Canaiolo.
I don't know.
You've ever heard of it? So it would typically be like 70% Sangio, and then 10 or 15% Canaiolo, and then they left open. And then the rest would be white wine. Believe it or not.
Yeah. You don't really. I think most people, I did, think of
Or white grape, I should say.
Italian wines as red.
Yeah.
Like you always have your red wine with your pasta.
Well, it would be a white grape blended in, so it would make the color a little bit just less dark, less, and it would kind of lighten up the body. Yeah, less inky, good word. And so they allowed, when they defined it, for up to 20% of the wine to be from white grapes. Okay, so this is 1967. Now think about Italian wines coming into the United States.
Yeah.
Think about the types of Italian restaurants we had in the United States at that time. I mean, I think of like the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club in New York City. Like, so if you don't know what this is, think of like Mulberry Street, or think of some of the old school red checkered tablecloth restaurants.
Totally. I mean, yeah.
And like spaghetti and meatballs,
Traditional
American Italian, right?
Old school, yes.
And then also think of like the candle, like the wine bottles with the
the Chianti
straw.
bottles.
Yeah, the
those
straw.
are the classic Chianti bottles.
They're like the centerpiece of the table.
And then stick the candle in it. Yeah.
So these wines,
or hang them from the ceiling.
Yeah, totally. These wines were coming over, and as they sort of like gained popularity and were selling more and more, they would get kind of more watered down with whites, and the quality, quite frankly, was suffering. And so these wine purists in Chianti and in Tuscany were just like, come on, like this is lame.
Right.
This is not what we do. And so they, as kind of like an answer back to that, in the 70s, they started making wines that actually didn't fit into the definition or the DOC designation for the wines, but they were better wines. Okay. So they started actually bringing in some French grapes, Syrah.
Mixing French with Italian.
Yeah. So they brought in non-native grapes, Syrah, Cab Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, some of the bigger reds,
like
bolder, more flamboyant, more robust, more of like, and they started making wines that were more of like the international style, going away from those table wines of that Italy was kind of known for.
Okay.
What was interesting is because they couldn't now call it a Chianti because they were bringing in these other grapes.
Sure. Okay.
So it started being labeled as, ironically, table wine, but they were really, really good wines. Yeah. Well, so somewhere, and I don't know the exact time, but in the 70s or maybe early 80s, somebody in the media, maybe it was a marketing person, called them Super Tuscan. They started calling them Super Tuscans.
Much more romantic than table wine.
It's much more marketable.
Yeah.
And so when somebody said that, it just sort of like, it kind of went nuts actually. And they started marketing them as Super Tuscans. And so a few years later, they added, or they changed the law. If you don't like the law, just change it.
Is that the Italian way?
Yeah. So they made it so that you could call a Chianti. You didn't have to add or you didn't have to add any white wine to make it, to call it a Chianti. So they started making Chiantis that were fully with red grapes. But the Super Tuscans, they picked up their own designation, which was IGT. And that was it just meant that they were taking grapes that were not native, but they were grown in the region. And so that's one way to identify a Super Tuscan.
Super Tuscan.
And what was interesting is like they could have gone back and called them. They probably could have lobbied to call them Chiantis, but they didn't want to because the
connotation, right? The association, right? They needed to separate. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they were different, and so to this day, they're more of an expression of like the California big red wines.
It definitely is juicy. I love this. This is so cherry-y, like you said. I love ordering a Super Tuscan. It's so much more fun than ordering a Chianti. I mean, right? I would have the Super Tuscan, please.
Super Tuscan.
Super Tuscan.
There's so much more.
And Tuscany.
There's so much more. They're so much more complex, and they're better for pairing. And
this is delicious.
Yeah, if you're gonna do a cheese board like this, you definitely want Super Tuscan over like the chuggable Chiantis.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, chuggable
something
Chianti
special. Chuggable has its place, but. This is great. So this has the Sangiovese, yes. But the blend, right? Because Super Tuscans are always a blend.
Yeah,
this
so
one Merlot.
I know most of the folks did get the wine, and you can see on the back it's 25% Merlot, 25% Sangio, 25% Cab Sauv, and 25 Syrah. So this is
a true like equitable blend. right? 25,
Yep.
25, 25, all across the
Everything.
board. Yeah. I love this. This is a very fruity. You're right, though. It is bolder than most of those just light Italians, but I like it that way.
And the color, you can see
Yeah,
the color.
and the color too. I'm going to start everybody with what I think should be the first cheese to go with it, which is the lightest of the bunch, and that was the very young Cacio de Roma. So this one is a Pecorino, and you can see it if your cheese has been sitting out. It's getting real shiny because it's gotten warm. It's because it's sheep milk. Sheep milk is naturally oily and rich, and so that's why you're seeing it weep like that. It shouldn't be weep. It should be like crying tears of joy because it's delicious. But this one is a mild fresco. Whenever you see the word fresco attached to a cheese, that's young, fresh. Right? Now this one of our big fans, hi Carol, I'm glad I got to see you today, asked what would go with it. And I neglected yet to talk about the accoutrements because I want these two to go together. I think they'll be so good. This looks like a jelly, everybody, the little black bowl of jelly. It is not. These are, Rob, if I can pronounce it properly, noci, verdi, condite, which means candied green walnuts. So believe it or not, these are very young green walnuts that they have preserved in sugar and vanilla to make it into a candied walnut and make it really soft. So you're going to get a little of that nuttiness with it, and you're going to get the sweetness of the vanilla and sugar, of course. But I think it goes so good, and you can just...
Is that shell and all?
It's a shell and all. Have you ever seen a green walnut, everybody? It's the young, if you have a pecan tree, you even see it in pistachios and stuff. It's the whole green shell. They just pick it before it hardens, and then they preserve it into this sugar and syrup. From Tuscany region. So try these together, everybody. Oh, it's really good, really sweet, and it's really fun. So you get the sweet of the noci, verdi condite, candied green walnuts, with the salt of the Pecorino Fresca, the Cacio de Roma. Now, also though, that's the sweet side of things. Taste that first if you get the chance, because I just absolutely love it.
That's excellent.
The cheese is really nutty, right? Which goes with the nut of the walnut. But the reason we picked this cheese, it's been really hard. We got asked today, Rob, some cheeses aren't making it into the country right now. We're not getting everything that we possibly can. One what we really wanted to bring in that is from Tuscany is a cheese that's essentially this Cacio de Roma, but it's rubbed in tomato paste. And that's a real Tuscan kind of tradition, and you'll see a lot of cheeses that are rubbed in tomatoes, which is why we also included these roasted tomatoes on the plate today. These are roasted in extra virgin olive oil, and they also go so good with this Pecorino Fresca. Remember we both have visited this cheesemaker in Tuscany, that literally they have people that hand rub the outside of the cheese with tomato paste. So what I'd like you to do, if you get the chance, try this cheese also with a bit of this roasted tomato, because it's really spectacular as well. You can see the versatility of this, right?
Yeah, so just to jump on what Gina was saying, we visited a cheesemaker in Tuscany. I've been there a couple times because we went there with the tour group once too. But they're called Busti, and they're kind of outside of, I don't know, they're probably an hour or so outside of Florence. And they had in their aging room all these bright red wheels of cheese sitting there, and they were the Marzolinos, and they were rubbed with tomato paste, and the tomatoes, of course, were grown locally, and I mean they're not originally from Italy; they're part of the Colombian exchange, but every March they would make this cheese and they would release it in March, and that's what Marzolino means.
Ah, okay, Marzolino, March. Oh, that's right, because of their month.
Yeah, so it was a seasonal thing, and it was a celebration. And I'm not sure what the tie-in or the reason for the tie-in with tomatoes, but it's a really great pairing, and
really good, because it's not tomato season. Well, in Italy, isn't it always tomato season?
I mean, it's tomato paste, so
tomato paste. Yes, exactly. No,
but so that's and they make them with pecorinos, and we're tasting a lot of sheep's milk cheeses today. And a quick note about that: when you get down into the center and the south of Italy, it's more the terrain is more conducive to goats and sheep. They're just happier.
That's why
there.
you see so much of it. Yeah.
And so of course the cheeses are a reflection of that. And so pecorino is just a very generic term for sheep's milk cheese, and it comes from the Italian word pecora, which means sheep.
Yeah.
And so the Caccio de Roma, it just means cheese from the Roman countryside.
Yeah, it's very literal.
And
You got to eat that, Rob, though, because I agree with George. Hello, George. Tastes like pizza. It's like pizza in one bite. Like, you don't even need the crust. This would be keto pizza, right? Because you don't have any of that. Is that right? Yeah, I don't know.
Much better than that cauliflower pizza.
Oh, yeah, much better.
Is that
Forget
an Oprah
that.
thing?
Just eat
come on.
this. Yeah.
Oprah, what are you thinking?
Yeah. And cacio, Rob, also a small form, right?
Yeah.
You cacio cavallo,
Yeah.
cacio this, cacio that, small form cheese, right?
So Cacciata it refers to the form. Like, there's a couple of words really for cheese, of course, in Italian, and one is formaggio, and they both I want to say they both derive from Latin. The other, and so Cacciata is the other one, and that just refers to like a little smaller wheel of cheese, and so so this one comes in probably like a 1 or 2, I don't know, maybe a 2 pound, 1.5 pound little wheel. And
So good.
it's unique. Like, we don't get a lot of fresco or fresh pecorinos. They're typically more often aged for a good amount of time.
Right, which you can jump then right away to compare the difference, you guys, to the Pecorino Toscano, which again is the rind is going to give this one away. But this is kind of an aged version of that. But this one truly from Tuscany, hence the name Pecorino Toscano.
Yeah.
But try it with both the walnuts and the tomato, right? This one squeaks on my teeth, but I like it a lot.
Well, the Pecorino Toscano is a classic. I mean, this is the cheese that, like, if you go to a restaurant anywhere in Florence and you order like their local classic cheese,
You're getting this.
It's Pecorino Toscano. Now, in France, they have their AOC system. It protects all of their food products, all of their agricultural food products. That includes wine, butters, cheeses. In Italy, the cheeses are protected under what's called DOP. And again, like, to sit here and to split hairs about why they have so many different organizations that protect like cheese versus wine versus other wines, it's there's no point. But it's the DOP for cheese, and that stands for Denominazione de Origine Protetta. As far as it instead of Controllata. Whatever. It's
confusing.
It's confusing, but
it's delicious. Just know when you see those stamps, it's pretty much delicious.
Yeah, this one's been protected forever. They've been making this cheese for probably 2,000 years.
Yeah, crazy. Like, that is their, that's their staple. Right?
And for this one, I believe they even wash the rind with olive oil.
Olive oil. You're exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up.
And so I mean, what do you think about, like, when you think of Tuscany, you just think of you think of like cooking in your backyard with simple ingredients,
tomatoes, olive oil,
pastas,
cheese, pasta. What else do you need?
Chianti.
I think those are the food groups,
Super
right?
Tuscan.
Super Tuscan. Oh yeah, that's a good food group. There are 5 food groups.
By the way, Sangiovese, the word means blood of Jove, Sangi of Jove, and Jove is the Roman leader of the gods.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where the name comes from.
I adore blood of Jove then.
But Pecorino Toscano. So I always tell people, imagine these. My favorite word for the hills is undulating. It makes me think of a waterbed. Undulating hills of Tuscany. So imagine driving around. So when we drive out to the cheesemaker from the city, or when we've taken tour groups out there, you drive through these hills and they're gorgeous, and you see wine, you see the vineyards on the slopes, but you also sometimes will see sheep grazing on the side of a hill. Well, rest assured that those sheep will be giving milk that will get turned into something like this Pecorino Toscano.
For sure.
And that just means sheep's milk cheese from Tuscany.
Again,
that's all
literal.
It means. So that one from the region, the Cacio de Roma, is from Lazio, but it's a region next door. And the region of Tuscany is 9,000 square miles. It's the 5th largest.
That's so big.
It's
it's on the 5th.
It's the 5th largest in Italy.
What's the biggest? Do we know?
I don't know.
That'll be the next episode. But I would have assumed that was the biggest one, because you always hear about it. Tuscany.
Yeah, you know what? It says 5th largest region in Italy, but I wonder if they talk about population, because I know Milan and Rome.
Or the different region.
Yeah.
question came up from Carol about back to the wine and the Super Tuscan and the rooster on the label. And this is what I understand a little bit about. When you see that rooster symbol, that talks about coming from the Chianti region. It's an homage to being from that region.
Yeah.
So the winery themselves must really pay homage to that because all of their labels include that. And I've seen it on other wines, not as prominent as this one. So that's interesting, the Baracchi.
I can't remember the story, but there is a very fun and exciting story about that has to do with a rooster like crowing in the morning and starting a battle, and why the rooster is on the label, and I can't remember it, but I'm sure you can, if a quick Google search,
old Italian story.
Yeah. Well, I know because our tour guide Sandro, he's a sommelier. He's actually based in northern Italy, but he took us down there and he told the story. But everyone on the bus at that point we had been to a few wineries already, so I don't think anyone remembered
that word. You know what you got? Okay, I tasted both of these with the tomatoes, and they're both equally good. I don't know, the Roma, maybe it's more mozzarella-y because it's fresher.
Yeah.
That it seemed more pizza-esque, because I think that the Pecorino Toscano has more greeny notes, like green beans and stuff. But dip the cheese into the oil that's left there too, or drizzle the oil on the cracker, you guys, that's left in there. Or if you have bread, or if it's all empty and you just want to take a shot, it's delicious because there's garlic and stuff in it too. Did you try them both together too?
Mm-hmm. I tried it with the Toscano, Pecorino. Oh man,
I like the mouthfeel of the Pecorino Toscano, and it's an old wives' tale that you can only do Pecorinos in dishes. Like I think a lot of people consider Pecorino only for cooking, but they really can be for eating, especially this kind. Yeah,
absolutely.
So good.
They so sheep's milk it's really rich. It does tend to benefit from age, but there are younger versions. The Caccio in my notes, I was like taking notes on it, and a lot of people do talk about cooking with it. It would be great shredded and melted for if you wanted to put it on a pizza. It would be perfect for that. But there's so many different things you can do with it.
You know what else you could try, everybody, with the Pecorino Toscano is the other accoutrement on the plate is the dried pear. And we've featured these before, but this has become kind of a new shop favorite. Loving the dried pear. So these I think are Californians, but I'm not sure. Anyway, dried pear, really good also with this cheese. You haven't tried it yet, but I will let you know. Yeah, the dried pear.
I do like dried pear.
So Pecorinos, there's so many Pecorinos. Pecorino Sardo, Pecorino, so many.
Pecorino Siciliano from Sicily. Sometimes they're not called Pecorinos, but they are Pecorinos. I mean, cheese is kind of like wine where the names get confusing, but if it's a sheep's milk cheese and it's from Italy, then it's a Pecorino. I mean, we have one called Fiore Sardo, which is
flour.
Pecorino is not really in the name. It means the flower of Sardinia, the name, but it's a Pecorino.
Yeah, as is our next cheese, the Pepato. So we're heavy on the sheep, like Rob said. There's a lot of sheep in this region. So hence, you're gonna get a lot of sheep milk cheeses.
Hi,
So you're still eating the Pepato, everyone. This one is very hard. It's kind of that beige color. And you should, in your pieces, see little peppercorns, black peppercorns. That's what makes Pepato. Is the infusion of the black peppercorn. So you can smell it. You can smell pepper.
Pepato is like it's almost the same color as the Pecorino Toscano, and that's because they're both sheep's milk. Sheep will take on a little color, especially after some age, so it gets to be kind of straw colored or I don't know, off white a little bit. It's got peppercorns in it. The name Pepato, it just means with pepper. That's simple as that. The Pepato is it's not really region specific. So there are versions made in Tuscany. I'm not sure if this one's from Tuscany, but there are versions made in Tuscany, so it kind of fits our theme. There's also versions made in Sicily, but really all throughout the South.
Yeah.
And there's actually an imitation from California, which is great.
Yeah.
From a cheesemaker called Bellwether
And it's also
Farm.
sheep milk, right? Yeah.
Yep.
He does make it. Yeah.
It is with sheep's milk, and it's called Pepato.
Yeah.
And, so it's kind of the idea with the name just with pepper. It reminds me of my dog's name is Pepper, but no, but my
Pepper. Mine's is Panini. We must like food. Pepper and Panini.
We got to think of a Halloween costume for them.
Yes, for sure. Together.
Yeah, with Chef Rogerio. Anyway, so with pepper, it made me think of raclette. And the reason is, raclette is not region specific. Raclette just simply means to scrape. So it's made in France and Switzerland. But it's also made in the United States. There's raclette style cheeses, and it just means, so it's not region specific. So this is one that's not really region specific. Yeah, just to give an example.
So interesting. This one's really dry to me. It needs the juiciness of the wine. It's not I like the creamier cheeses with this wine right now, because this one, again, it's just feeling a little dry to me. But I'm not getting a huge pepper. I love when I get the crunch of the peppercorn. Are you getting the peppercorn?
Well, I specifically grabbed the peppercorn.
Yeah, you want the peppercorn on this. So this brings me to famous dish. This is all I'm trying to cacio e pepe, which is all I'm dreaming of. Like, I want to make cacio e pepe so bad. But they always call, because cacio e pepe is the famous dish of Rome, they always call in the recipes for, you switch pecorino romano.
Yeah.
But papado would be excellent because it already has peppercorns in it, and it's sheep milk, so it really could do the same trick. Right?
Yeah.
I know it's crossing regions, though. You're not putting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Here's my thing with that. They, when it comes to recipes, don't be so married to your
one cheese.
Yeah, like when you look at this happens all the time where the Barefoot Contessa or Emerald or somebody
puts a recipe with a specific cheese.
And in reality, there's a dozen, more than that, cheeses that would suffice, that would be great in its place, maybe even more dynamic for the dish. So don't be afraid to play around.
Exactly.
Pecorino Romano, we've talked about it before, but that is one that I wouldn't recommend snacking.
No, that is so salty.
It's so salty.
Yeah, a salt bomb.
It's, if you have like veggies, some asparagus or something, or a pasta, if you're doing like a cacio e pepe, that's fine. You don't even have to salt your dish because the cheese is going to salt it for you. But there are great substitutions if you don't want to do pecorino romano. If you want to try something else, I think Pepato would be the best one.
Pepato would be great. So I'm going to try that this week since we got the Pepato in for this.
Honestly, like, you can do a Gouda, you can do Manchego.
Sacrilege! Don't tell the Italian cooks, moms, grandmas that.
Yeah,
Rob.
That's I don't know. I guess
but you could,
You could. I'm just saying, you wouldn't taste it and like spit it out. And this is terrible.
Exactly. But it would be a different dish.
It would be a different dish, I guess.
Yeah.
But anytime you put pasta and cheese together, it's going to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Mac and cheese.
This was a fun journey of pecorinos, though.
Yeah.
Because they're different, but they definitely have that. All of them have that oiliness that you get from them. That it's saltiness. This one, Pepato, is already salty, more salty. For sure.
And the thing is too with a lot of what Super Tuscans bring is they bring like just more power. Like they can stand up to big cheeses, and they sometimes will have a spiciness because of the other grapes varietals that get added into it. So So I think they're better pairings for
exactly
like this.
for something like that. I think the Pepato again and the pear would be good, or of course cranberries, dried cranberry. I want that tartness now. I'm feeling very salted, so now I'm really liking the tartness of the cranberry to kind of flush out all that salt flavor.
Yeah,
it's really good. It's really good. All right, do we get to go to my fave now?
Okay,
we get to go to my fave.
Do we any?
Carol, yes, gnocchi. What about putting it in gnocchi?
Yeah, that would be really good.
That'd be delicious. Over it, or I have a recipe that uses ricotta in the gnocchi, and it's always calls for Parmigiano. But maybe this would add more salt. You'd have to use less salt if you use this.
Yeah.
Parmigiano, I think you still add salt. I don't know. It'd be a great experiment to see which one goes great on the gnocchi.
I think honestly that you just can't go wrong with any of those.
No,
but it just depends what direction you want to go. If you go ricotta, you're going soft and more lactic, and if you go the Pecorino or Parmigiano route, then Parmigiano is going to be more sweet, like brown buttery. Yeah. This is going to be more spicy, peppery. It's like you can't go wrong.
Which do you want?
Yeah.
So I think it's best
What's your preference?
Make the recipe 5 times and try 5 different cheeses.
Yeah. Just make like every gnocchi different. How about that? Oh wait, that would take about 10 hours.
It would take 10 hours, but a lot of people have time these days. So
oh, it's a good point.
gnocchi by hand, artisanal gnocchi. That would
Or
be
you
an
can just
episode.
make a bunch of batches and drop it off at Venissimo with Rob and Gina's name on it.
Yes, definitely. That's RobbyGina. No, that's so good, so good. So everybody,
Ready for the next one?
we're ready for the next.
All right.
May I
Yes,
introduce?
you may.
Boschetto, everyone. And again, this one, your nose is going to tell you which one's Boschetto. Smell that. I mean, I do smell a little tomato because maybe tomato oil got on it, but I smell the truffle.
Yeah.
Truffles, everyone, the diamonds of the earth is their name. And truffles come in either black versions or white versions. These happen to be studded with white truffles. A lot of people, it's funny. Now, when you think of truffle, Rob, do you say it tastes more garlicky or more
Like earthy,
mushroomy? Garlic
Well,
or mushroom?
I get
Which would you say?
garlic
You say garlic. Let me see.
from that.
And I think that's more a white truffle thing. Because I agree. I think the black truffle, more mushroomy.
Yeah.
But regardless, you guys, they're both fungi. I mean, right?
Yeah,
The
I
truffle.
mean, yeah, they're both,
Okay.
yeah. This one
Excuse
is...
me while I just eat this and Rob will talk.
So this one is a little different. Not a traditional pecorino because it's not 100% sheep. There's
Yeah.
a little bit of cow's milk mixed in there. But this one, they say it's made in Florence. It's made just outside of Florence, a little bit north of Florence at a co-op in a town called Murello. And but they infuse it with a little bit of white truffle by volume. It's 1% white
1% truffle.
1%.
That's how powerful then
Yep.
truffles are. Because if that's 1% and the flavor that pow comes through, you don't need more.
Yeah.
That would be a waste.
So if you're wondering, I mean, there's many reasons of why truffle is so expensive, but it packs a punch. You get a lot of bang for buck, especially the higher quality of the truffle. And there's there's actually hundreds of types of truffle. There's just a few that are really well known. And so there's like maybe 4 types that are highly regarded for for culinary purposes. There's summer white truffle, summer black truffle, and then there's winter white and winter black
blacks.
truffle. And the one that we're talking about is the winter white truffle.
Yeah, so good.
And that's the one that it's found in a few regions, but the region that it's known to come from is Piedmont, which is in the north. And in fact, it's sometimes even called the Alba truffle because it's found around this town of Alba. And they have a huge market they have a truffle fair and a market in the fall to sell the truffles. But they're hard to find. They are there's all kinds of like folklore around it. And they are just prized by chefs because a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
And some years are better than other years.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's so amazing. And what I've learned, Rob, and it is so true. So, couple tips. Never, ever cook a fresh truffle because then it loses all of its flavor.
You're not supposed to cook white truffle. You're only supposed to finish.
Only finish and shave with it. Only do it. And it really does. I mean, there are times that I've had a freshly kind of shaved or preserved truffle when I don't get that truffle flavor. Then I'm really disappointed because I want that truffle flavor. That's why you pay for the truffle, right? To get that flavor. This captures it so well.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you though what too. When I melt this cheese, which I do all the time because it's so delicious, it loses a little of its truffle essence. Again, that heating of it up loses a little of it. So this one is best served, I think, on its own.
Yeah.
Although, can I tell you, I make an award-winning seafood lasagna that puts this white truffle in there and then these tomatoes on top.
And I haven't tasted this seafood
Spectacular.
lasagna. That's
No,
fine. That's
maybe we should. Perhaps we will publish this recipe along with this plate because it's so good.
Yeah.
But I do add a little bit of truffle paste to the top to give
That's
a
what I
little
was
bit
gonna
more
say.
truffle.
So
Yeah, I
you
need
can-
more truffle.
When it comes to truffle things, you can cheat. And so there's ways to cheat. You can do truffle oil. You can do truffle salt. You can, if you find like preserved truffles, you can throw those in there as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that you can do.
With the truffle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell Rob, have you been on a truffle hunt? I never have been.
I have not been on a actual truffle hunt, but we've been to a truffle market in Alba, and we did some other truffle, like a truffle dinner. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Who
But
needs
no
that?
truffle hunt. Although
Yeah.
I have, we do a truffle class.
Yes.
Maybe it'll be a virtual class this year if we're still doing this.
Yes.
But we talk about all things truffle, and we do talk about truffle hunting. And in in that part of Italy, in Piedmont, they have these guys who truffle hunting as a profession, quote unquote, gets like passed down from generation to generation, and the father teaches the son or gives him these old maps of where the truffles are found. And in case you don't know, truffles are found underground. They usually are found like a few inches to a couple feet underground, and they grow symbiotically with tree roots. And there's
mostly the hazelnut tree, isn't it? Like that's was that tradition or original?
No,
I thought it was a hazelnut.
Hazelnut is one, but but beech,
many types.
A lot of oak trees, and so for white truffles, they basically go out to. There's no way to tell by looking if there's truffles underground, and so they bring out their animals.
They could take me out, Rob. I can smell a truffle from a mile.
It used to be pigs, but pigs are illegal. Stop. Pigs are illegal, so they use dogs now. And
because the pigs would eat them, wouldn't they too?
The pigs would eat them. They would mess up the area. You couldn't train pigs, but
to drop it.
The dogs sort of like. They lightly dig out these areas because if you mess up the areas where the truffles grow, they won't grow there the next year.
That would be very bad.
So the dogs kind of have to be more ginger with it. Pigs were not ginger, and they were not. They couldn't train the pigs to not eat the truffle. So I don't know if the pigs are smarter or dumber. Like that's
right. That would be a debate,
right? Mm-hmm. In some places, they use goats to root out the truffles as well. But
goats? I never had heard that.
Like in Sicily and Sardinia.
Okay.
But so anyway, they go out year after year and they hunt for these truffles, and the dogs will sit there, and it's not really a particular breed. This is another thing that Sandro taught us. It just has to be a dog that likes to play the game.
Okay.
So it can be any number of breed.
Okay. Because what's the big one, like a terrier or something? What is that big breed? The biggest, most common truffle sniffer, anyway.
Probably a terrier.
Yeah.
But one thing that a lot of them do have in common is that they're lighter in. Is it lighter in color or darker in color? Because they go out in the middle of the night, because a lot of the truffles are in other people's properties. It's on private property.
That's okay. Yeah.
And so
Can you just leave a bottle of wine for every truffle you find, or something like that?
They go out, and I'm sure there's like rifle shots, ringing out in the dark, but. But they pick up these truffles and then a lot of times they'll bring them to local restaurants, and we've had people try to sell us truffles in the store before. But and during truffle season you can order a pasta, and if you want to get truffle on it, it goes from €15 to €85, like that.
Pasta with 3 shades.
Yeah, just
with the truffle. We need to do a truffle hunt tour, Rob.
Yeah,
we'll do that. And Carol mentioned, and too, you could do that in France, because France is also known
Provence
for truffles.
is known in the south,
the Périgord truffle, but Italian truffle. We need a truffle hunt.
Yeah, and there's a region called Umbria, which is on the Adriatic, so that's actually closer to Tuscany, where there's a lot of truffle. The biggest truffle producer in the world is in Umbria, but they do black truffle, and that's the company where we get most of our products from, and I forget their name. The truffle salts and the oils. It's
Urbani, yeah. So well known for truffles, yeah.
They're the biggest one in the world. But there's truffles that come from Croatia. There's even truffles that come from the United States and Oregon and even Texas. But the highest quality ones are the ones from northern Italy.
Yeah, for sure. Oregon, you said Oregon, right? Trying to grow them.
There's a truffle fair up there.
Yeah.
And like if you want to cultivate truffles, all you do is find a place that has a similar temperature, or I should say climate and terrain, as they do in around Alba in northern Italy, and then plant rows of oak trees and just hope, and then wait a couple hundred years.
A couple hundred? That's going to be a problem.
Is that too long?
That might be a problem. But undulating hills, Napa. Why don't you see truffles in Napa?
Maybe they do grow some there. Maybe we just don't know.
Maybe we don't know.
I know there's a lot of. I know that people go out. I've read about this. There's a lot of foraging that happens. Even some chefs, like in San Francisco, will go out foraging in the North Bay, and they'll find all kinds of great mushrooms, and so there might be truffles out there.
Yeah, right. Next year, the Alps. We are going to do a tour next 2021.
Darn
Alps.
right.
mushroom hunting with my cousin. Okay.
Can we do it?
We're going to do
Okay,
it.
all right.
She doesn't know it yet.
Jeez.
But she will. And
Is she watching now?
I'll tell her. But oh my God, I just went with Anna, my sister, last year, and during that time, September, October, and chanterelles. She said they had a bushel, a basket of chanterelles. But you know how much those are worth?
A lot.
I mean, just like a truffle. I mean, those are really priceless. Then went home, cooked them up. That's what we'll do. Hunting, cooking, eating, drinking. Done.
Hunting, gathering. We're cavemen and women.
Carol says that there's a truffle dog in their neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bianca. So a white truffle sniffing dog, because Bianca is the word for white.
Any
right?
truffles in your neighborhood, Carol?
Yeah, where are the truffles? And what time can we be there? We both have dogs that can help sniff them out.
You don't live in Alba, do you, Carol?
I love it. But yes, the truffle dogs. We got a lot of people that want to join the tours next year, Rob.
Yeah.
Well,
stay tuned. I mean, speaking of the tours, I mean, they are so much fun. It's
how many have you done now?
Well, I've done 3 years of tour, 3 years, consecutive years of tours. The first 2 were Northern Italy, and then the third year was Sicily. And we had 2 groups. So Gina and Roger did one
So fun.
group, and I did the other group, and we just staggered them. And then this year was going to be France and the Alps. And of course, everything is on pause, and so we're pushing it into next year. But if you want to get on the list, we have a kind of a closed list for those. If you want to get first dibs on those, you can. What's the best way to sign up? Just email the website. There's a place on the website I think you can sign up for that.
Yep, you'll see it on the events. It talks about tours. It'll get to one of us.
Yeah.
We'll get you in on the next one's upcoming.
The first year we did that. It was so much food and drink that I kid you not, I had to tell the operator, I was like, can we have like a couple of days
This is too much.
Of like not eating so much, or maybe a couple of nights off.
You said that to an Italian.
I know. She's like, huh? Nobody's ever said that to me before. No, but it was no, I mean, it was they're incredible.
Yeah.
These and the reason the idea spawned because we would go there on buying or educational trips, or if I was just traveling, I would do cheese stuff, and so I would reach out to people in these places, and I would usually bring my dad or my uncle who I like to travel with,
right.
and so I would say, hey, can I come and look at your facility, just in and out, I won't bother you, and it always turned into a day.
With food and wine,
with food and multiple meals with their family, and so we turned it into. We wanted to share that with our customers, really.
Yeah, because it is such a unique thing to see.
And the other cool thing is the 3 years that we've done it, the people that have come on the trips with us have become friends.
Yeah, we have dinners at their houses.
Yeah.
It's like the Italian style, the Italian way. Now they have become friends. That's what it's all about, right? I mean, it's just eating the food, meeting the people.
That's totally what it's all about.
Being together, even we can't be together, everybody, I feel like we're together.
Yeah, it's
so
just,
cool.
It's community.
Yeah.
We're all people who obviously are drawn to, attracted to similar things. And so let's celebrate it. We always have something to talk about, never a dull moment.
We won't stop talking. We'll just keep going and going. Rob, okay, we have to pick a favorite. I sent it out there. I want to know what everybody's favorite is. Whoever's been chatting, please let us know. Did you have a favorite today?
God, which was my favorite? I gotta say Boschetto.
Yeah.
I think Boschetto is always gonna be my favorite.
there.
It just has the most going on.
Because it's
for
truffle.
Me. Yeah, it's
There's
truffle.
one word answer. Truffle. Yeah, to me.
I like the texture too.
Yeah, so I'm surprised today. Of course, I'm going to go with Boschetto every inch of the way, but I also loved the Cacio de Roma. I don't know why. That freshness, maybe I was in the mood for that, and I think it went very, very well with this fruity wine.
Well, okay, my favorite bite I had today was the Cacio de Roma with the walnut.
Oh, with the walnut. There's still another walnut.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. I won't bite your hand.
I'll take it.
But don't take the rest of the Boschetto.
The walnut, I hadn't seen those for a long time. Those are from Veneto, by the way. The family's up in northern Italy, I believe.
The noci verdi Candied. Oh, okay, very good.
I think I saw that.
We've got a note from Carol, one of our fans, that life's too short. Eat, drink, and be merry. And isn't that the truth, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not going to regret the things I did eat. I'm going to regret the things I didn't eat, right?
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we got, hands down, Boschetto from George. Jason loved the pecorino with the roasted tomato. That was good too. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because that is so pizza-esque. Pepato. So we've got votes all around. Carol liked the pepato.
You can go so many
Because of the
directions.
pepper, that's so good.
You can go sweet, savory, spicy.
Yeah.
There's texture on there. You got everything.
Yeah, it's super fun. Again, whatever you guys go in the pantry, this is what I implore you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Go into the door of the refrigerator. Everybody does this, right? How many jars of jams, olive tapenades, I don't know, artichoke things do you have in there? A ton. Throw them on a cheese plate. That's the place that you should use up those things mostly. I think so. And then also honey. Honey's always a good idea.
Honey,
but any of those
can't go
drawer
wrong.
things,
Yeah.
that's my
Go look at and think of like your typical or what you would normally see on a cheese board when you go out, and do something completely different and unique. Like go against all the rules. That's what I would say.
No rules.
Break all the rules.
We have no rules. Yes. Fearless. Go for more rules.
Who has a quote about breaking rules? Is it Richard Branson maybe?
Probably.
Yeah.
He's the screw it, just do it.
Yeah.
Break all the rules. Yeah. Zig when they zag.
Yeah, I always say break all the rules. I mean, the only rule ever when it comes to pairing, putting things together, is to have fun. There are no hard and fast rules when it comes to pairing or putting things together. So break all the rules.
Yeah. Rob, we have like a tie break of all the cheeses got votes. Cacio de Roma.
And that's the beauty
Some are
of it.
stronger yeah.
That's the beauty of it, because there is no best. I mean, your favorite is the best. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. And it can all be super, super good. Gah. Thank you all for joining us. What's next, RobbyG? Sunday,
we are going to talk about gratitude. Sunday sessions, for those who have not been part of one of those, we always just pick a positive topic and we shoot the breeze and
yes, we're going to shoot the breeze about gratitude. I have many things we're grateful for, and we have cheeses we're grateful for, and saintly cheeses, beautiful cheeses.
Cheeses. We tried to think of some. We thought of topic gratitude, and then we thought of how can we tie this in with cheese, and we found a way.
We did.
You're going to be very impressed with us.
Very fun. Yes, and we are not going to be in our downtown loud, crazy studio.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be at Del Mar. And if anybody has never been to our Del Mar shop, we're going to do a little behind the scenes tour too while we're there. So you can kind of see what it is, what Del Mar looks like. And that's a really fun little shop. Rob, when things open up again, we're going to have a patio out front where we're going to be serving glasses of wine and cheese plates. And of course do some classes live and pop-up dinners up in Del Mar. So it'll be a fun way to, if you've never seen it, to see it. So Sunday that is, and stay tuned next month. We have so many things coming up. You talked about whatever you like, be creative. What about wild and wacky? That's coming up. And a cooking with cheese. We've got a chef in house who worked at Juniper and Ivy as one of the many restaurants, and he's going to cook up some amazing dishes, and I think that's the end of August. But all will be on the website, Venissimo.com. And if you liked what you saw, tell your friends, subscribe to the channel. All these videos are posted after the fact. In fact, Rob, you're doing a lot of classes like the whiskey one.
Yeah.
After the fact.
a lot of people are reaching out or catching wind. Like we can recreate the classes on Zoom for people, for their friends or for their group at work. And so we can, if somebody just wants to get their friends together and watch an old YouTube and have us put together plates, we can do that. And we might just pick a substitution cheese, because a lot of times we don't have the same cheeses we had 2 months ago, but we can hook you up and figure something out. So we can always figure it out. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and we're going to explore, and our goal is, right, Rob, we're going to go through every cheese in the case, through all these tasting plates.
We're going to go through every cheese in the world. There's like 10,000 we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, we don't want to duplicate a couple times. We're trying not to duplicate, so they'll all be different, and bring in new ones every freaking time.
It makes it more fun for us to talk about different cheeses, too, every time, and to taste different ones.
Yeah, because it's been a while since I've tasted some of these myself. It's
absolutely
crazy. Yeah. So, without further ado, finish your Super Tuscan, and I hope everybody loves Super Tuscan. I love this, and I'm going to go take this and snuggle up and binge watch TV with the rest of my bottle of Super Tuscan. And thank you all, and we hope to see you soon, and cheers, and happy cheese eating. Cheers to cheese, as we love to say, and ciao.
Ciao, everybody.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
See you next time.